اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرج.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين في نار جهنم خالدين فيها أولئك هم الشر البرية. إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك هم خير البرية. جزاؤهم عند ربهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا. رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه ذلك لمن خشي ربه. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات.
Jazakallah, mashallah. Ibrahim, thank you so much. Now I would like to invite Brother Mustajab Naqvi to start his presentation on Imam Reza alayhi salam. Please welcome him with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraja.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to the 10th session on Imam Reza alayhi salam, who is the son of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam. A view of the timeline of Imam Reza's life. So his name was Ali, and he is known as in India and Pakistan, we call him Imam Reza. Everywhere else it's Imam Reza. He was born in 148 Hijri, and her famous sister, who is Sayyida Fatima, also known as Masumeen, is also close by her shrine in the city of Qom. His father was Imam Musa Kadim, and then there were events that happened. So let's learn about the life of the Imam and the rulers of his time, and hopefully get some learning out of it. Yes. A brief look into the life of Imam Reza. So what I summarized is Imam Reza was born on the 11th day of Dhul Qa'dah in the year 148 Hijri. His mother was a virtuous lady by the name of Tokhtam, and she was given the name Tahira by Imam Kazim. After the birth of Imam Reza, she was given the title of Tahira. Proof of Imama. So it is from Abdul Rahman bin al-Hajjaj narrated that Abu al-Hasan Musa bin Jafar al-Kazim appointed his son as the executor of his will, and wrote this in a letter. So what the Imam did was, Imam Kazim wrote a letter and he sent it to 60 people in Medina and make them bear witness that after him, the executor of the will of Imam Qadim and the successor is Imam Ali Reza. Virtues of Imam. So Imam was very knowledgeable in the science of religion as well as all other sciences, and there were numerous debates in the palace of Mamun, where Imam defeated a lot of people that came to argue their point, which included Christians, Jews, atheists, and other people, right? So there, what we have learned that when there was this is from Al-Harawi, and to say even when an Imam is in trouble, we saw Imam Kazim, who remained in over 10 years of prison. Then Imam Ali Raza, when he was forced to go to Marv from Medina, he remained in captivity as well. So what they said was, there is no way that you will be able to see him. So when a person came to seek permission, he said, why? He replied, because he sometimes offers 1,000 prayers in the space of one day and night. So between one day and night, he offers 1,000 prayers. He stops praying for a while at daybreak. So when the day breaks in the morning, he stops. Before noon and before sunset. These were the stops that he took. Otherwise, Imam just kept on praying, and he used to offer 1,000 prayers. During these times, he sits on his prayer mat and he speaks with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I said to him, then request him to grant me permission. During this time, he did ask the permission. He was granted permission. When he entered, he saw that the Imam was sitting in the mat. The virtue is for us to learn that even in dire circumstances, Imam is still worshipping Allah. Even though he is in captivity, he has not forgotten the Lord that created us. That's what Imam is showing. We don't have to go and pray 1,000 rakats. But even if we are not doing namaz, when you are in trouble, when something bad is happening, you can't do something, remember your Lord. In times of difficulty, remember him. And in times of happiness, remember him as well, which we often forget. Then Ibrahim al-Abbas narrated that I have never seen Imam Raza hurt anyone with something he said. He didn't say anything that would hurt someone, nor have I ever seen him interrupt anyone until he has finished. So if someone's speaking until they finish, he never interrupted them. I ever seen him interrupt anyone until he finished, nor refuse to do someone a favor that he was able to do, nor did he ever stretch his legs before anyone sitting. So when someone is sitting, he wouldn't stretch his legs in front of them. Nor would he lean against something while his companions did not. If other people are sitting, we often go to a mosque when everyone started leaning. The Imam's teaching us manners, that if everyone's sitting in the middle, he would never lean against anything. He never insulted any of his servants or workers, and I have never seen him spit or burst into laughter. Neither he got very angry or neither he laughed like crazily. So rather his laughter was just a smile. When he was ready to eat and the table has been let, he seated with him at the table all of his servants. So he had all the people that work for the Imam, they used to sit with him, including the doorman and the stable boy. So he was not eating separately because he's considering himself to be more pious or more worthy. We have to learn some good things. So what were the caliphs during the time of Imam Raza? Harun, he was caliph for a period of 10 years when Imam became Imam after the death of Imam Musa Kazim. Then it was his younger son, Muhammad Amin, that he was caliph for 5 years. Then his elder son, Mamun al-Rashid. For the period of Imam, he was 5 years there. He ruled for 20 years. Now, during the time of Harun, when Imam Kazim was poisoned in prison in Baghdad, Harun became scared because of the circumstances. After poisoning the Imam and killing him, he was scared. He was scared that people will do something. So whenever he was asked about Imam Rada or anything, he was just asked everyone to not bring that up. And because he was left Imam alone, Imam had a period of relative freedom where he was able to spread intellectual activities across. And during this time, Harun did not harass the Imam and he was free to engage in various activities. Imam Rada, what he did was he began to educate and train a group of students in the Quran and Islamic sciences. So, what Imam also did during that time was he openly declared his imamat. He used every opportunity. Whenever an opportunity used to come, he used to openly declare that he is the imamat and they are the rightful people from the family of the Prophet. Even some of his companions were actually scared. If you are saying it so openly, maybe something will happen. to you, or the caliph would, and his people would try to hurt him, and he said nothing will happen. What was during his younger son Amin? So after Harun passed away, his son Muhammad Amin became the caliph. He was younger, but he still became the caliph. Now there are reasons, we'll go a little further in, and one of them was that he was pure Abbasi blood. Her mother was Zubaida, whereas Mamun, Abdullah al-Mamun, he was from a slave girl from Persia. So Abbasis naturally favored him, and they wanted him to be the caliph. But because when he became caliph, instantly what he did was, when Harun passed away, in his will, he said, during his time, he said, and his will was that after me, my son Muhammad Amin will become the caliph, and after he passes away, then my son Mamun will become the caliph, even though Mamun was bigger and was more worthy between the two sons. Because Amin left, he spent life in luxury, whereas it was not the case for Mamun. But a conflict between the two brothers happened, and they fought a war, and after 5 years, Mamun's army was able to kill Amin, and his head was cut off and brought to him, where he sent it to other people, notables. So after him, obviously after Amin, Mamun became the caliph. But initially he was trying to stabilize his caliphate. When he became stable in his caliph, as a caliph in his rule, this was when the pressure on Imam began to increase. So, and the hardship and difficulties came. Because the caliphs, whether they belong to Abbasi dynasty or before him, the Bani Umayyah that were there, they all feared the Alawis. Alawis are the people from the progeny of Imam Ali. So they thought, because they are more worthy of caliph, so they were always scared. And obviously, because there was always an Imam at the time, and people were naturally attracted towards the Imam, they were always scared. And same was the case was Mamun. So Mamun would, because Mamun was, his kingdom was in part of Persia, he gave a pretense that he was inclined towards Shiaism, because the people around him in Khorasan and other people were mostly people who loved the family of the Prophet. So that was the scenario when it came in. So because of this, and because of the people in his government that were inclined towards it, he was not able to imprison the Imam openly in a jail or have him killed like other people did before him. So what happened after that? When Mamun had to came, because it faced a lot of difficulties, he came up with a plan that he said, I want to give the caliphate to Imam Reza. So he sent Imam Reza invitation letters, and he asked him to come to Marv, where he was, where his kingdom was being ruled from. But Imam refused it. So Mamun's invitation of the Imam to Khurasan, at first, Mamun invited Imam Reza as well as other notables, descendants of Imam Ali, so that they could all witness it, that he wants to give the caliphate, and in a very polite manner. Imam refused it. So he knew that Imam would refuse it, and obviously this was his plan, but because his government was in difficulty, this is how politically he played it. So the Imam did not accept Mamun's invitation initially, but he kept on insisting it, and many letters exchanged hands, until Imam Reza finally began to travel towards Marv with a group of Alawis. Now, what did Mamun did? He ordered a person called Juludi, and he said, who was in charge of Imam's caravan, and he said to him, look, be very respectful to him, take care of the travelers. But he told them not to go through the main cities. He asked him to come through a not so common route. When Imam was leaving Medina, he asked his family to gather, and he asked them to cry for him. And he says, I will not return to my family again. Imam Reza knew that when he's going, This is where his martyrdom will happen. He will never be able to return to Medina. So why did Mamun came up with all of these things? What were the political difficulties of Mamun? So if we do research and we look at the situations, one was, I told you guys that Mamun killed his own brother Muhammad Amin, who was more Abbasi, and historically it says that because of that he had a lot of political issues even before he wanted to have a fight and take over the rulership. Now to come up with all of these things, he came up with a multifaceted plan that he would give the successorship to Imam Reza. And what was in successorship? That he will rule right now. He will be the caliph since Imam refused it. But he nominated and signed a document that after him, if he died, then Imam Reza will become the caliph. Now, there are a few things that we have to think about it or discuss or think over. But as part of the difficulties, before I cover that, the reasons were he had killed Amin, who was superior in his position. The Abbasis were dissatisfied with Mamun because he was not pure Abbasi. He was from Persian blood mother who was a slave. So going back, so what did he do? So the things that we have to consider, Imam Reza was older than Mamun. So if he's saying you will become after me, that means naturally, and he was quite older than him, then naturally what normal age-wise Imam would pass and he would never give the successorship. So all of this was a plan to save his own government because it was facing these political situations. A loud salawat while I'll drink some water.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
Thank you. So what was his solution? He said, okay, what I will do is, what he looked at it, when we look at a game, when people play chess or other things, they look at it, okay, I've got this situation now, or you playing a game which is a multi-strategy game. So he was playing this multi-strategy game. He said, okay, what do I have to do? I've got Alawis. Alawis are the descendants of Imam Ali. And they are doing revolts, and here they attack in this city, and they're just raising up against me. I have to finish them, or I have to stop them coming against me. Second one was, he said that the Alawi acknowledged he would need to have the Alawis and both Abbasi acknowledged that his government was legitimate, that he was the legitimate ruler. The third one was that undermine the people's love and respect for Alawis. Because people at that time where he was loved the descendants of Imam Ali, he wanted that love to subside, reduce, so that it will give him an advantage. He wanted to gain the trust and love of the Arabs because he was not full Arab, he was half Arab. He was not Arab from his mother's side. Gain the acknowledgement of his government's legitimacy from the Khorasanians in particular, after the Iranians overall. Why? Because he actually, after he killed his brother, he showed his head to so many places he went to, and he did a lot of bad things. The sixth one was keep the Basis and their supporters satisfied. Keep them satisfied that he is doing something. They won't have any change to their circumstances, and then regain the trust of the masses due to the killing of his brother. Because he killed his own brother, people were against him. So he had lost a great deal of the people's trust and his reputation had fallen drastically. So lastly, Mamun wished to somehow secure himself from the danger that he felt from Imam Reza. And because Imam Reza was openly declaring that the imamat is the ultimate thing, and he wanted to also get rid of all of these things. So he forced the Imam didn't accept it. When Imam reached, he then forced him. And we will be discussing what were some of the reasons for Imams accepting the successorship. So Imam Reza accepted the successorship of Mamun only when he judged that he cannot continue to refuse. When Imam continued to refuse, he threatened the Imam. He said to them that Umar did a council, and even your grandfather Ali was in that council, which was not out of his will. He was just there. And he said similarly that if you don't do it, I will kill you. Because you're leaving me no choice, I will kill you. And now Imam was worried that he will kill me, then the people will revolt, then he will start killing the Shias as well as followers, and it would be a very dire situation. So the Muslim right now needed Imam's guidance. So Imam had no choice after refusing multiple times but to ultimately accept the successorship, knowing very well that he will not become the caliph. And also he openly started saying to the people, do not be happy for that, it will not come to fruition. So the Imam gave, after giving that definite refusal to the successorship, it was clear when first he refused it so many times, it was clear that he did not want it to be the caliph, or didn't want it to be the successorship. And the only reason was he's saving his companions from not being killed. The other thing that Imam wanted to do was that if he was killed and had some that his sacrifice, his martyrdom would was not clear that would have the same reaction or effect as the martyrdom of Imam Hussain had, and his guidance was more required. So in addition to this, the reaching of successorship was an implicit acknowledgement from the Abbasi that the Imams of the Ahl Bayt deserved a significant share in the government. The other part, Imam said, look, we are not wanting it, but they are wanting to give us, which means they are accepting partly that the Ahl Bayt have a role in the government. On the other hand, what was there was that it allowed the people to see that the family of the Prophet active on the political stage. They wanted to see, okay, that they are, before it was a perception that Imams are only religious people and they will just give their religious scholars and jurisprudence, and there is no relevance to the world and how to manage the world, and the government has nothing to do with it. But that was not the case when Imam decided to show that it was the government as well as the people. So ultimately there were a lot of debates that happened, and Mamun got Imam Reza killed. Now there are few learnings from Imam's life, and one of the famous one is, I've shortened this one, is that Imam Ali Reza narrated about what happened with Imam Ali. So there was a man from Syria, and he asked Imam Ali a couple of questions, and some of the answers are very interesting. So I thought you guys would like to hear these answers and questions. So when Imam Ali was in the Jamia Mosque of Kufa, he used to rule from Kufa, keep that in mind. A man from Syria stood up and he said, "Oh, commander of the faithful." He said, "Oh, Amir al-Mu'mineen, I have several questions." The Imam said, "Ask in order to understand." He said, if you want to ask, if you want to understand, then ask. Do not ask in order to bother us. If you're trying to bother us, then do not ask. So all of the people started staring at them, and then the first man came and he asked, he said, "Let me know, what was that which the sublime God created first? What was the first thing that Allah created?" So the first thing, Imam replied, the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created was light. Then he goes and asks, and he said, what are the heavens made of? Now, do any one of us know what are heavens made of? Imam has answered. So Imam, and he has answered in detail, he said, they are made from water vapors. The man then goes and asks, okay, what is the earth made of? The Imam said, from the foam on top of the water. Now, everything has hikmah in intellect in all of the answers that Imam has given. Then he goes and asks, he says, what are the mountains made of? The Imam said, from the waves. The man asked, why have they called Makkah the mother of the towns? The Imam said, because the earth expanded out from beneath it. So the earth started from the center point, and as we know scientifically that Makkah is the golden mean of earth as well. So then the man goes and asks, he said, what is the sky of this world made of? He said, it is made of a restricted wave. Then the man asks, okay, then he goes and he asks, okay, what is the width and the length of the sun and the moon? So what is the width, the length? Now, how can someone measure it? The width and the length of the moon at that time? Only it could be divine knowledge that Imam had, and Imam said it is 900 farsak squares. He then asked about the width and the length of the stars. The Imam said it is 12 farsak times the same amount. The man then goes, now farsak is the amount that was a measurement unit that was used at that time. So the man asks, okay, what are the colors of the seven heavens? So the seven skies have colors. What are those colors? And he says, the lowest heaven is called Rafia, and it is made of smoke and water. That's why it looks blackish when we look at the sky. When we are looking here, but if you look at the sky in the space, when we look at the sky, it looks green and blue. That is because of the reflection of the light. But actually, the sky is like smoke. And indeed, Imam said it is made of smoke and water. The second heaven, which we cannot see, is called Faidum. So Imam is even telling the names of the heavens, or the sky, as you call it. And it is the same color as copper. So copper is little bronze color. The third heaven is called Maroon, and it is the same color as brass. The fourth heaven is called Arfulun, and it is the same color as silver. The fifth heaven is called Hayun, and it is the same color as gold. Wow. The sixth heaven is called Arus, and it is the same color as Kairosolite. Green, it's like a green color. The seventh heaven is called Ajma, and it is the same color as the white pearl. So the man asks, now this is something interesting that we should learn from here is, he asked about the cows, and he said, why do the cows keep on staring at the ground and never raise their head up towards the sky? The cows are always looking down and they never raise their head up to the sky. The Imam said, they are ashamed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because the cow keeps their heads down from the time when people of the in the Musa's tribe, they started worshipping a calf, which was a baby cow. And since then, the cow do not raise their head up. And then the man asked, okay, what about the high and the low tides? This is something again interesting. Why do there are high and low tides? Scientifically, it is said that the moon has an effect on tides, or waves are created, tides are created. But the Imam replied, it is Allah has got one of the angels he has appointed there. Whenever he steps into the water, they rise, and whenever it leaves the water, it lowers, and that's why it creates the waves. The man asked about the name of the father of the jinns. Now, this jinns means jinn. The Imam said the first, just like we have the father called of man is called Adam, the father of the jinn was called Shuman. And he was the one created from the fire. He was created from the fire. And then the man asked if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed any prophet for the jinns. The Imam said yes. And the Imam said, yes, Allah has appointed a prophet named Joseph for them, but they killed him. The man then goes and asks, okay, what was the name of Satan, or Shaitan as we call it, while he was in the heavens? When he was in the heaven, he wasn't called Shaitan. He hasn't done the bad thing. So what was his name called? Imam told his name was Harith. Then the man asked, okay, why was Adam named Adam? The Imam replied that he was created from the earth. And it is written in the Quran that Adam is created from the mud, the clay. And that is why it is called Adim in Arabic. And hence we call it Adam. The man asked about the age of Adam. How long did Prophet Adam lived? And the Imam replied, he lived for 930 years. This whole conversation that I went through, has been narrated by Sheikh Sadduq in Anwane Ali Rada. And this is a small portion from him. Some learnings from the life of Imam, and then we'll be finishing. So when he asks about the reason for Allah's drowning the Pharaoh, so when Pharaoh went into the water chasing Moses, And when he saw that the water was starting coming in, he started believing in Allah. And he said, oh, I am oneness. He said, oh, I accept Allah. But Imam said, then why, if he accepted Allah at that time, then why? So Imam said, because he believed after he saw the wrath of Allah. When he saw that there is nothing now and it is coming and it is the wrath of Allah, but the sea has gone split up, it's now coming, he accepted after. So when we are dying and we see the death in front of us, and then we started saying astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh, that time is too late. Okay, the next one. Allah Most High said, O son of Adam, my will, you attained free will, and with the help of my favor, you will perform your obligations towards me. And with my power, you feel empowered to disobey me. I created you with sight and hearing, so I deserve more credit for your good deeds than you, while you to blame for your own misdeeds. See, Allah is saying to us as Adam that He has created us. And he's given us sight and hearing, so he's got credit for us. He's given us. So anything good we are doing is because he created us, and he did anything bad we are doing it. He didn't make us do it. We are doing it. So we are to be blamed for our own deeds. Some of our traditions are, now this is very important. When we hear sayings and hadiths going around on WhatsApp, on the internet or Facebook or whatever it is, when we hear this, the Imam said, if some of our traditions are ambiguous, he said, like the ambiguity in the verses of the Quran. Some are clear, like the clear verses of the Quran. He said, whenever we come across an ambiguous ones, we refer that one to a clear one. Has Imam said something that is much more clearer about it? And not follow the ambiguous ones blindly without referring to the clear ones, lest we go astray. So it is important. There are sometimes some of the hadiths that Imam has saying, and we're not talking about hadiths that may be faulty. There are some that are not clear, and we just try to understand and do qiyas. And qiyas is using analogy to come up with our own reasoning. That is not allowed in the religion of Shia. We are not to use our own reasoning and logic. It is a haram. Whoever does not fear Allah with regards to small matters will not fear Allah with regards to large matters. So why is this one is so beautiful and so important? Look, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam has said such a small message for us. What is it? If we do not fear little things from Allah, that we have hurt someone from our tongue, we have hurt someone with something else, or we are not helping someone, or we are stealing something little. Oh, I'm not robbing a bank, I'm just stealing a pencil from my school. If we are not scared, because Allah is watching us all time, He's watching us all time. Just like you won't steal even a pencil in front of your teacher or in front of police or any law enforcement agencies, just think that anything bad that we are doing, Allah is always watching. That means our belief in Allah is not there. We are born in a family where we are taught Islam, but the ultimate faith and belief is acceptance of Allah. And how do we know that we are believers? That whenever we are doing something, we will keep in mind that Allah is watching. That's how you know you are a believer. If you do not have this, then we are not at the stage of a believer, and we have to improve ourselves. Try to remind on little things, and it is a habit. No one goes from level 1 to level 100 in a video game. No one goes to level 1 to level 100 in the game that we are playing here in this world. And we already know how to finish it. So it's the guide of that game is out. We already know how to play the game. Yet we are failing. I urge you to use the weapon of the prophets, upon which he was asked, what is the weapon of the prophets? This is all narrated from Imam Reza. He said it was supplication. So dua. So if we want to do something, we should do dua with our heart. So anyone who is oppressed, anyone who is in trouble, the first thing, the least thing we can do for anyone who is in trouble, or if we can't help them physically with money or with our hands or anything, is to make a dua. And same is the case for us. If you are in trouble and there is nothing you can do, remember your Lord. pray your musalla, pray to your Lord, do 2 rakat namaz and ask, connect to Allah, cry, and then He will make it easy for you. You don't have to remember long duas from the books. If you just sincerely connect to Allah and sit anywhere and your tears start flowing, know that Allah has accepted your prayers. He who has piety has no religion. So whoever remembers Allah but does not want to meet Him has mocked himself. So if we are saying, oh ya Allah, I'm doing namaz, why are we doing namaz? To remember Allah. And if we do not want to meet Him, we are scared, oh, we want to enjoy in this life, I want to play my PS5, I want to play Xbox or whatever, Switch, whatever you guys want to play. I wish I had more time to watch cartoons and movies and all these things. And whenever it is the time, the ultimate thing is this life is very short. And if we in our heart do not have any time in our life, we have not thought about meeting Allah, then what are we doing? It's just we are mocking ourselves, because ultimately we are here. We are remembering Allah, we are doing namaz, but we don't want to meet Him. If we don't want to meet Him, then what are we doing? The one who commits an evil deed openly is disgraced by Allah. So if you do something bad openly in front of everyone, then Allah will disgrace you, know this. And the one who hides his evil deed, feeling ashamed of it, if you're hiding it, you've done a bad thing, but you're hiding it because you're sad and you've said astaghfar to Allah and you're asking for forgiveness, then Allah will forgive you. But Allah knows your heart, if you actually want or don't want. A believer is not a Lagiz believer unless he possesses 3 qualities. What are the 3 qualities? One quality is of characteristic of his Lord, that we accept that Allah. The other one is the Prophet. The third one is the Vilayat. The quality that is characteristics of his Lord is guarding a secret. For verily Allah has said, knower of the unseen, He does not disclose His unseen to anyone except to an apostle, and He approves of. So there are things in unseen, and Allah has said He only shows it, discloses the unseen to His apostle, or the one He approves. Okay, this is the last saying, verily imama, which is the imamat, divinely appointed leadership, which is we have 12 imams, is the ever-growing root of Islam as well as its lofty branch. So a short story, and then we would add. This is a story about the incident of Zainab, the lady who lied. So this is from Hafiz Nishapuri, and he's mentioned in his book Mafaqir, that one time when Imam Ali Reza went to Mamun's court, he found a woman. There was a woman, and her name was Zainab. She said her name was Zainab binte Ali. And she claimed that the Messenger of Allah had prayed for her to remain alive till the judgment day. So Mamun said to Imam Ali Raza, salute your sister. So Imam said, what did the Imam said? Imam said, she is neither my sister nor a descendant of Ali. So Zainab, who's the liar, she said, if it is true, then he is also not my brother and not a descendant of Ali. So then Mamun said, okay, how can we test? So Imam said, God has made our flesh, our meat, this, unlawful on wild animals, on beasts. You place her in an enclosure of wild animals. If she is true, the beast would not touch her and tear her up if she is lying. If she's true, it won't do anything. If she's lying, then it will tear her up. So what happened was, she said, okay, this man wants that I should be killed. So she said, what? He wants me to be killed, so let him undergo this test himself first. So what happened was, Mamun said, okay, you have done justice. Okay, I'm prepared to do that. Then he asked Imam. So Imam said, I'm prepared to go in there. So the Imam was sent into the enclosure, and when he entered, he was very poised. He was casually walking, and he sat on a rock. So he wasn't scared of the lions. He sat on a rock. And all of the animals, the hungry lions, and the lions were all hungry. They hadn't eaten anything. They came towards the Imam as if paying salutation to him. and they sat down close to the holy Imam with their front paws folded. So they folded the front paws. I couldn't create the picture with the front paws folded, and spoke to these animals and also patted their. So Imam patted their backs and rubbed him, and then he ordered to go and sit in the corner. So the animals went and sit on the corner, and then Imam got up and said. So Mamun then ordered the woman to be put into the lion's enclosure. Now, when she heard this, she started crying. She started shouting and crying, "I'm not what I had claimed to be. Do not put me with the lions." So she kept weeping and crying. And what happened was Mamun refused to listen, and she was eventually thrown into the enclosure. The lions jumped upon her, and she was eaten away. So that was the end of their story. The Imam also spoke with two lions there, and you guys can go and read about it. Very small short story about a miraculous spring water. If anyone that visits Iran, there are places as you go towards Nishapur where there is spiritual water from Imam Reza's fountain that is available. But this is a story of a miraculous spring watered in the desert. So this is when a time when Imam was traveling with a group of people in a desert, and then the people said, we and our animals were really thirsty, and we were about to just perish and die. The animals would have died, we would have died. So Imam told them, go there and you will find water. When we went there, and they found a spring there, and we drank water and had our animals drink from that water too. So they had their animals drink water, they drink water, and they returned back. Then the Imam said, okay, go and look for that spring again. They went back and they could not find that spring. It was not there. This is where we have to understand what the reality of this world is. How did this water spring came in? How did the people actually drink it and their thirst went down? So there was water there. Then where did the water go? But what they did find was when their animals were standing next to it, they did their feces there. So their shit was there. And they were able to find there at the exact spot, but there was no water. So Imam was poisoned and killed by Mamun, and he passed away in 203 Hijri in Khurasan, and he is buried in the city of Mashhad as we go there to pay tribute to him. And this is the end of the life of Imam Ali Reza. Look, all Imams have a lot of things to learn and listen. I've tried to present something that you guys have hopefully not listened or another perspective than what you hear in Majalis or Majalis. May Allah accept our prayers. This is the end of the session. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you, Mustajab. I will quickly go ahead with the quiz.
Yeah.